Hello and welcome to Unabashedly Resolute Podcast on Magic is Essential Radio. I'm your host, Wes Mullins, here to take you on a journey of life. We will dive into the diverse topics ranging from God, politics, health and wellness, to the abstract things like thinking about your thinking and why you believe what you say you believe. So open your hearts, open your minds, and let us reason together. Thank you. Good to be here. Soak it in. Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to Unabashedly Resolute Podcast on Magic is Essential Radio. I'm your host today, Wes Mullins. This podcast has been brought to you by Magic is Essential. We are the company that says it's not that you ask too much of God, but it's that we ask too little. Dare to dream the impossible and bring your imagination to life. Oil of the week this week is going to be lemon. This can be found in the Young Living Starter Kit. That's how you get started with Young Living Essential Oils, how you get started with Magic is Essential. You sign up. It's like a Costco membership with Amazon Prime because it comes straight to your house. And you get the oils delivered to you monthly on Essential Rewards. And it's that simple. And lemon is one of the oils that comes in the Essential, in the Young Living Starter Kit, which has 11 of the most used oils inside of it. Lemon is good for immune support, and it's good also to help clean. You can actually put a drop of lemon oil on a stain or something like that on your counter, and it'll help take that away. But for the immune support issue, I actually got my first taste, if you will, of lemon, and that's the Lemon Vitality line is the actual oil that you can ingest. It's the white labeled Young Living Essential Oil. And I first got my first taste in Nepal. You guys have probably heard the story 100 times, but I was in Nepal drinking tea, and Gautam, our host over there, said, hey, let's have something different than tea. I've had too much milk and sugar. So he brought out hot lemon. It was half of a lemon squeezed into a glass with some mineral salts and some hot water. And I said, this is fantastic. And I kept drinking those on the way back. And after drinking nearly one a day for 2 years, I suddenly realized that I stopped getting seasonal discomforts. I stopped getting sick. And it was this preventative measure. And then I realized that, there might be something to preventative health measures. So I have now replaced freshly squeezed organic lemon, which can be quite expensive, with Lemon Vitality. I put a drop in my water. I'm drinking it right now. I have some sea salt with a drop of lemon, a drop of thieves, a drop of clove, and a drop of peppermint. And I pour some hot water over that, and that's what I drink. It's fantastic. Okay, so let's get caught up on what happened during the weekend, because I wasn't here during the weekend. There was no podcast over the weekend. So let's get caught up. Well, today's the 29th, so Halloween will be in just a few days. And actually, I heard in Lexington that Halloween may be moved to tomorrow because of storms coming on Wednesday. So anybody out there listening who thinks that you're going to have Halloween on Wednesday, I believe that's going to be moved to Tuesday. Check local listings for that. And Halloween is better known, or actually was not better known, but used to be known as All Hallows Eve, which came before All Saints Day, which was a holiday celebrating the Catholic saints, which not as catchy as Christmas, Easter, or Thanksgiving, or even what is now Indigenous People Day, the President's Day, Labor Day. It just never really caught on. But Halloween has been a staple for a really long time. So the question is, do you have your costume ready? My 8-year-old son Lex is going as a Ravenclaw wizard again. My daughter Eliana is going as Mary Poppins. That's his twin sister, and she's going as Mary Poppins. And she's ecstatic about it. Nina and her best friend, Lisa, have not yet decided, I think, what this fantastic duo, this dynamic duo is going to go as. They have been Harry Potter geeks for many years. They've been Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon. So who knows what genius ideas they've planned. At one year, they were French bank robbers, which was absolutely amazing. So we'll have to wait and see how they dazzle and amaze us this year. Also over the weekend, the Boston Red Sox won the World Series, so shout out to my brother-in-law. Congratulations. You guys played well. Also, my Kentucky Wildcats beat Missouri to go 7-1 for the first time since 1977. They are ranked 11th in the nation in football. I did not misspeak. 11th in the nation in football. I could not be more proud or more shocked that we are where we are. If we beat Georgia this coming Saturday, we will be in the SEC Championship playing the juggernaut Alabama for a chance to go to the playoffs. In football, this is ridiculous, guys. In basketball, I expect us to go to at least the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four almost every single year. But in football, you expect to go 3-6 or 6-6. I mean, you expect to have a really lose a lot of games, and we actually have only lost one and had a chance to win that game. So Kentucky football is doing some amazing things this year. Also, the leaves are falling. Autumn is here. The leaves are changing color. It's my favorite time of the year. I always say autumn is like this good sigh after a long, hard day's work of summer. Just like, this is nice. Until it gets cold. And then winter comes, but winter has its own beauty and the snow and then the briskness of the morning. So it's a little gray here in Kentucky. Not as gray as it is in Oxford, England, where we were at for the winter, because it's dark at like 4 o'clock in England. Here, it stays lighter until about 5:36, 6:30, but it is gray during the winter here for most of the time. Some tragic news that happened this week that will actually probably be the springboard from where we go today in this podcast is that there was a shooting in a synagogue in Pittsburgh. And it's just one of these things that we see a lot now in the news. And I say a lot. We see these in the news, and one reason we see these in the news a lot is because we do have 24/7 news. We have a saturation of information. And I just want to say that here at Magic is Essential, our hearts and prayers go out to all those who lost someone and who had to go through that trauma. I did read somewhere that someone who survived the Holocaust actually was someone who was shot in that synagogue. And Nina and I have visited most of the Holocaust museums in Europe, and actually even interviewed some people who survived that. So just knowing that happened is a real tragedy. And it's interesting, though, guys, that we live in the safest time in history. I know that doesn't seem like it, but there have been many books written about how that we are more likely to die from obesity than starvation, and we're more likely to die in an accident than from war. We really do live in the safest time in the world, and yet we feel like we don't live in the safest time in the world. We feel like that we are constantly under threat. And I think some of that has to do with there are terrible things that are out there. There are terrible things that happen, but I think some of this is actually coming from toxic thinking. My opinion on the synagogue case, because it gets political, it gets weaponized immediately. And the other thing is, guys, it gets weaponized immediately. It gets weaponized politically. Whatever side you are on of gun issues or religious issues, suddenly this becomes a talking point or a poster child. My opinion on this is that willful murder of any person is immoral, and it's a gross misuse of free will. We are all capable of such atrocities. We all live by, and we feed our own heresies, prejudices, biases, pet peeves, our preferences. We all live by and feed these every day by the information that we allow to come into our brain. Right? The thought process of our brain can become obsessive and even become necessary, habitual for us, like a drug, for us to feel normal. Like take, for instance, hating President Trump with all the disdain and vitriol you can muster. It will be damaging to your psyche. Hate has never produced love, forgiveness, change, or justice. Hate only attracts hate. The movie that Nina and I went and saw last week, and the book that she read, The Hate You Give, it is about that. The phrase thug life actually is not about being cool or being hip. It was Tupac's way of saying, if you the hate that you spew out of you right now teaches the younger generation to hate. Hate produces hate. It's the law of attraction. Or maybe you're on the other side and your habit is calling liberals derogatory names and telling your kids that they're the scum of the earth and they're not worth living, that liberals are the scourge of the earth and they need to be eradicated. Maybe that's your vice. These words will take root in the soil and on the minds of our children and on our hearts. It will produce an orchard of resentment, anger, and disdain. And very possibly, like we saw in Pittsburgh, and like we've seen in Charlottesville, and like we've seen out in Berkeley, as we've seen in possibly violence. Think about this, guys. Each of us is a cautionary tale for the next, because each of us is capable of these atrocities. Do you know what it takes to be capable of this atrocity? Do you know what it takes to be able to create violence and inflict pain and suffering on others? It takes your thinking that they're not worth anything, to take the inherent value of life away from a person. Hitler did that with the Jews. In America and Britain and Europe did that with slaves. They are livestock. They are not human. If you devalue somebody to the point where you take away their humanity, the atrocities you can lay upon them are unimaginable. There was, during one of the political battles, we had a friend of mine came, and she said, I was watching this, one of the debates, and this person that's running for office, they're just a warmonger. All they want to do is go to war. You know what we should do? We should round everybody who wants to go to war, put them on an island, and bomb it. And I said, did you hear what you just said? You basically just incited war on people who were warmongers. Why? Because you dehumanized them for a minute, and you said, if you think this, then you're not worth being considered human. And the moment you do that, guys, those toxic thoughts go in our brain, then the levels of atrocities that we can perform to other humans is so vile and evil. The best of us are still capable of doing this because we allow our thoughts to become toxic. Right? C.S. Lewis says that there are no ordinary people, or what we call mere mortals. There are only immortals that we laugh with, we joke with, we marry, we cajole, we deride, and we provoke. Right? Mere mortals, there aren't such things as ordinary people. Everybody has inherent value. From the Christian perspective, where I stand, every person has value because they were created in the image of God. They have the imago Dei. Every person is valuable not because of what they do, not because of what they say, not because of their actions, but because of who created them, because of who made them, because of who He is, not by who they are. But they have worth and value because of who He is. And that's very different. And that is what the West was built upon, was the Judeo-Christian value that each individual person should have value because their Creator made them. Now, when I change who can be considered a human, you may have that view that humanity is worth saving, but who do you allow into that definition of human? And when you take someone out of that definition, when you change the parameters of what human is, that allows you to commit human atrocities. So what feeds into this? What helps create toxicity in our brains? Reading negative posts, negative articles, reading negative news articles about someone that you hate it feels like you're being wrapped up in this blanket of self-righteousness. It's so cozy. It feels so good. As the poison just seeps into your body, it's just like a big exhale of, oh, that's so comfortable. Because now you need that anger. You need that rage. You need that outrage to feel normal. One of our problems, and it's mine too, my biggest problem is I strive for comfort. C.S. Lewis also says that if you look for comfort, you will find neither comfort nor truth. But if you search for truth, you may well find both. This toxicity will become addictive. It is very much like a kid, not a kid, any of us today with our cell phones, we have that alert set. When we get a buzz, zzz, 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 text message, or ding, ding, it sends off an endorphin in our brain that a lot of psychologists and sociologists are saying that it is the same kind of chemical change in our brain that you get with cocaine, that it becomes so addictive when that buzz happens that you need that to feel normal. It's the same thing with negative thoughts. We create these negative neural pathways in our brain that directly affect our behavior. And then it becomes this thing that we think this, we have to think this. I want to go read all the negative articles I can on how orange Cheeto looking that Donald Trump is and what a lying, filthy jerk that he is, and that I hope someone takes him out. And if you continue to do that, if you continue to feed that, it will become something that you need and have to feel normal. And it will create in you lots of problems because that's toxicity in your mind. Hate only produces hate. Hate can never bring love, right? Civility can never be brought by uncivility. Order can never come out of chaos. The toxicity in your minds and bodies can actually have damaging effects, as the same, very similar to toxic external chemicals. So let's say that you've done like Nina and I have done, and you've cleared your house of all the toxic chemicals. You've taken the 409s and the bleaches, and you've taken all the things that actually your Tide Pod things and that kids are eating nowadays. You take all the toxicity out of your house, so you have no toxic chemicals that are going into your skin from externally coming into your body. Let's say you've gone non-GMO, and hopefully you didn't go GMO. You've gone non-GMO, you've gone clean eating, and suddenly you're not bringing in processed foods into your house, processed sugars. You've gone clean. That's great. Your body's going to react to that. But if you still have a steady diet of toxic information coming into you, and you still have a steady diet of feeding and incubating toxic thoughts and breeding toxic thoughts in your brain, it can still have can create damage on a cellular level to your bodies. There have been studies done that hate actually helps perpetuate the breakdown of cells and helps and to the creation of cancer inside your body. But guess what? On the flip side of that, laughter and joy have also been triggers to help create and fight against cancer, to produce healthy cells that actually overcome the cancer. And sometimes the cancer has gone into remission simply by a changing of thoughts, going from hate and despair to hope, joy, and laughter. What we think can have a physical effect on our body. So you have to think about, where do you get your information? Where do you get your information daily? And why do you get your information there? Do you get your information from The Daily Show? Do you get it from Fox News? Do you get it from someone who feeds this obsession you have to hate? Why do they deserve your loyalty? Why should you listen to them? Why should they get your precious time? The space, the real estate in your brain is so valuable. Why are you letting them take it? The 24/7 news cycle has made it so that they are more like drug pushers and us addicts than them being a news outlet and us being partakers in getting news. Because if you watch 24/7 news, there is very, 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 very little news, and there's lots of opinion. Well, you know what? I have opinions too. Opinions are not facts. And just because someone has an opinion doesn't make it true. And what happens is you get people who have negative opinions and opinions that you like, and suddenly you're attached to those, and then you want to hear this person's opinion because you're probably going to like it. It's probably going to set up some endorphin in your brain and set some adrenaline off in your brain and feed this lust and this insatiable desire for rage and anger and disdain towards a certain person or towards a certain group of people. But you have a choice of what information that you let affect your thinking. You have a choice of what you allow yourself to think. Did you know that? I pause to let that sink in. You have a choice. There are great examples of how to get rid of toxicity in your thinking, ranging from Jesus to Viktor Frankl to Corrie ten Boom. And over the course of this week, we're going to look at stories from these men and women who overcome negative and toxic thinking. And instead, they embrace forgiveness and hope and have fared so much better than those who gave in to the strong pull of the dark side. Again, you have a choice of what information you let affect your thinking and a choice on what thinking you will allow to yourself to think. You can detoxify your brain with a little hard work or a lot of hard work and a lot of hope. Here's my challenge for you. For the next 14 days, the next 2 weeks, I just want you to do what's called metacognition. Think about your thinking. When you have a thought, I want you to analyze that thought and say, is this a negative thought? Is this a helpful thought? Is this a toxic thought? Does this cause me to have hope? Does this cause me to have joy and laughter? Does this cause me to have compassion and forgiveness? Or does it feed this desire for comfort, for hate, for disdain? What is it feeding here? And begin to look at these two sides and begin to analyze and pick out which thoughts are healthy and which thoughts are unhealthy, which thoughts are organic and good and which thoughts are toxic. So for the next 2 weeks, I just want you to focus on having a thought and going, I want to think about this thought for a minute. Where did it come from? What are its roots? What is it producing in me? Is it producing good things or is it producing bad things? And I want you to think about that. After these 2 weeks of you getting really good at categorizing and going, this thought's good and this thought's bad, analyzing your thoughts. 2 weeks after that. So this is going to be a 4-week project for you. 2 weeks analyzing your thoughts, finding the toxic thoughts. The second week is going to be, now you're good at analyzing your thoughts. So when a thought comes, you analyze and go, that's toxic. So what do you do with it? For 2 weeks, you just focus on trying to stop it. Now, you're not going to stop it right away. It's going to want to be there because that neural pathway is a super highway right now. It's 8 lanes of traffic going both ways. It is a massive, massive Autobahn going through there. And you've got to stop traffic. You have to do some construction on the road and you have to reroute this. And so it's going to take some time and there's still going to be some stuff that gets through on that big super highway. So you're going to have to stop that and divert traffic. And so after you analyze the thoughts and you can identify the negative toxic thoughts, then begin to stop those and begin to just go, I'm going to stop this thought. Nope. You don't get to go here. Nope. And once you get really good at that, then we'll move on to the third step. But the first 2 steps is being able to identify the toxic thought. And the second step is to stop it. So just the first 2 weeks, I want you guys to think about it and just begin to identify, why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Where is this coming from? There's the biblical precedence for this. In 2 Corinthians 10:5, Paul urges us to take our thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. What was Christ's obedience? Not my will, but your will be done. I will go to the cross. I don't want to, but I will go to the cross. Paul's saying, take your thoughts, do that metacognition in your thoughts and go, is this a good thought? Does it live or die? You know what? It's a bad thought. It cannot be permitted to be in my brain. You have that choice. Amazing things are going to come if you begin to do this. Amazing things are going to come in your heart and your mind if you take up this 4-week challenge. Life-changing things are going to happen. And I can't wait to share stories with you about Viktor Frankl and Corrie ten Boom and even Jesus, who was nonviolent, just like Martin Luther King and Gandhi. These guys were nonviolent in the atmosphere, in the environment of just rage and outrage and murderous plots and schemes, and yet they overcame that and they stood higher than that. You can do that as well. Don't fall into this trap. Don't fall into this trap that you have to hate somebody because of their beliefs. It's not true. You can do better than this. You need to detoxify. You can detoxify your house. You can detoxify your body from chemicals coming externally. But it's the internal. It's the emotional, and it's the mental detoxification that's probably going to be the hardest. That's why I wanted to talk about it today. And actually, the lemon oil that I mentioned earlier, that's the oil of the week, actually can be known to help moods. Can help moods. So if you're feeling a little perplexed by this, you know what? Put some lemon drops in a diffuser, or just rub it on your hands and breathe it in. But put some lemon in a diffuser and just sit there. Grapefruit is also good for a mood booster. Peppermint's good for a mood booster. Put some peppermint, lemon, and grapefruit in a diffuser and just sit there for a few minutes and try to take hold of your thoughts, take them captive and go, okay, I know this isn't a good thought. I shouldn't hate this person. I have no reason to hate this person. Hate does not bring love. You know, there's that saying that hurt people hurt people. And if you continue that hurt and you don't allow that hurt to heal, then you're going to continue just to hurt. You're going to hurt somebody, and then they're going to hurt somebody. You're going to perpetuate this long line of hurt and hurt and hurt and hurt. You can stop that. You can stop that by taking control of your thinking. You are in control of your thinking. You can do this. All right, guys, I'm out for now. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening, and I hope you have a fantastic day.